you eat whatever the locals are eating. You know, you're not eating like in inexpensive restaurants mostly. There's no need to. You know, the locals don't have the money to go into expensive top-end hotels just to get a decent food. You know, the food on the street is quite acceptable. You know, it's cooked. What more do you want? You know, it's just not what you're used to, or you know, the nutritional value might not be so good, but you know, it's sustaining. You know, that's all you need when you're traveling.
Yeah, it makes the trick. No? That's it.
Yeah, you have to adjust. You know, you don't go to some country and expect or even want to eat Western food. You know, it's always, you know, you've been on the road for months and you just want to have a pizza or something like that. You know, I get it. You know, but you know, I lived on rice and vegetables when I was in Southeast Asia for months and months and months. You know, it was fine for me.
Do you miss home when you are, let's say, in the middle of Africa or in the Far East? And how do you handle those homesick feelings?
Ooh. Yeah, I think there's two talents necessary for a long-term traveler. One is the ability to sleep wherever, despite the noise, despite being uncomfortable. You know, I don't have this ability. Okay, this talent is something I don't have. Homesick. I don't know. I just things are a little bit different in my private life now. Much different from before. But I never got homesick. So that is one ability, which is a good talent to have when you're traveling. You know.
Yeah.
But I would say not every day is good. You know, there were a lot of, just as you're working a 9 to 5 job or a 10 to 6 job, you have bad days. You know, it's the longer, like for me, the longer I'm away. You know, I was away for like almost 4 years of continual traveling. Okay, I stopped a couple of times for 3 or 4 months. You know, but I didn't go back to Europe. I didn't have any, you know, familiarity. I just stopped. I volunteered on a guest house, and you know, recharges the mental batteries. But yeah, I didn't feel the need, like, oh, you know, I really, you know, to go back, you know, and to end the trip. You know, you get into a zone where you're concentrating on the journey and you're just loving every moment of it. You know, but yeah. But my private life has changed quite a bit since those days.
Yeah. I saw it on X. You got married recently. No?
I did. Yeah, like in January. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So do you have a base now? Or there's a place where you consider yourself home?
Yeah, Mexico now.
Huh?
Yeah. Things happened during the COVID pandemic. You know, yeah, I was away traveling. I was already starting traveling. You know, before everything started shutting down, and going home wasn't an option. So I just stayed in Kenya. And yeah, as we know, you know, at that time nobody knew how it would go. You know, yeah, it's going to be like a couple of weeks and it'll be finished. You know, nobody knew. So I was in Kenya, and then, you know, listening frantically to the reports from the president. You know, and they shut the border, shut the airport, and that was it. You know, I was stuck in Kenya. You know, I couldn't get out if I wanted to. So you just have to deal with it. The idea there was, don't get caught because it will cost you a lot of money. So, I mean, don't get caught running a temperature. So every time you went into the supermarket, they zapped your temperature. Okay. and if you were running too hot, they put you in a quarantine hotel for $100 a night for a minimum of 10 days. Okay, so
That's
that was
smart.
the whole idea of don't get sick. So you purposely avoided contact with people, just for whether you thought you were strong enough, whether you believed in the COVID, whether you thought you were strong enough not to get sick, because even if you got it and you've got no symptoms, you'll be running a temperature, and they zap you when you go into the supermarket, and then they put you in a quarantine center. So that was the whole idea. And then the EU started organizing evacuation flights. So I ended up in Europe again, and I was moving around the Balkans, dodging the lockdowns and dodging the restrictions, because I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go back to England because of the requirements that Boris put on my father, that he had to stay at home alone. So I had nowhere to go. So I just stayed away. So and then I was in Turkey, and they started shutting down, and I was asking a friend, like, where can I go? Where can I go? Oh, Mexico. It's still open. Okay, so I went to Mexico, and that was, and then obviously I was in Guatemala or El Salvador, and I got a call from my sister saying my father had passed. So I had to go back to Mexico, back to London to be with my sister, and go to the funeral and everything. So my home base was in England at Finish now, because everything was with my father. So and the house had to be sold. So that was the end of my base as well. When I was here, there, and everywhere, thinking of what to do and whatever. But so my personal situation changed dramatically, from having that. But I'm happy, and I met my now wife. We met in Mexico. She's from Mexico, and I'm now married. So,
Yeah. Do you still have an appetite to travel like before, or do you think it will change going forward?
Yeah, it's changed a little bit, I must say. I don't know whether it's I'm getting older now too much, or I'm just tired of seeing things, or a combination of everything that I missed some normality to be at home with my wife. I miss that. So it's always at the back of my mind that the travels aren't like they used to be. But that can be from many different things. You get older. I've been traveling for like 30 years since I went to Australia. So you do get tired of that. The travel life doesn't last forever. I would say.
100%. And once you repeat something that you already experienced, then the novelty is not there anymore. So sometimes there is. I think sometimes there's more entertaining about doing nothing, because you did a lot, which is kind of a paradox. But for people who are all over the place, it's a fact, because there is not much flavor in going here and there, because you did it. Of course, you can always repeat, and it won't be the same, because the place has changed, you have changed, but the whole adrenaline, it won't be as it was in the past. At least the levels will never ever be the same, because you went through that process. So somehow you exhausted it. So, and there is some excitement about, as you just said, regular and frugal life.
Yeah. But even before I got married, I noticed myself slowing down and changing. I was not in a hurry so much.